Hey, I've got a lot of vegetables to cut for dinner tomorrow. Like some peppers, some cucumber. I've got some lettuce I need to cut, some tomato and onion for sandwiches and other stuff. So, I thought I would do another one of these videos. Just me and the vegetables. Getting them ready for tomorrow. So first I'm going to do the lettuce, then tomato, then cucumber, then peppers, and then finish with the onion. I'm going to save the onion for the end because when I cut it, the onion gets on the cutting board and it makes, it can make the other food taste or smell like onion, so I'm going to save the onion for the end. So, you know what time of the year it is? It's almost time for school. Yeah, I'm excited for it, but I don't know if you are as excited as I am. But yeah, I'm excited for you. Yeah, school can be fun. It can be, it can make you nervous because every school year is like a new chance to start over. Start over and learn new topics, maybe make new friends, meet new teachers, maybe even play sports, or other things like band and playing instruments, maybe school clubs like acting and performance and drama, maybe writing, maybe art. Maybe other languages. Yeah. And school starts with, it starts with a bus ride, or maybe a walk. I had to do both. In kindergarten and first grade, I had to walk. And I got to know the crossing guards, well, not by name, but, the crossing guards just kind of, do their job, stand out in the street and hold the sign. There was one thing about one of the crossing guards at one of the stops. He parked his car on the shoulder of a four-way intersection. And the way that I would walk to school, I would approach the intersection, but I would be walking up to the crossing guard from behind his car. And when I would get close enough to, start getting ready to cross, the crossing guard would get out of his car as if he would somehow know that I was coming. And I would always wonder, how would the crossing guard know that I'm coming? How would the crossing guard stay in his car, sit in his car, but get out when I'm close enough to cross? And I would always just wonder without knowing the answer. But now that I'm older, I understand. He was looking in his rear view mirror, of course. You know, crossing guard can see everything from inside their car. I thought he had some kind of, just some kind of trick or something else, but no, he was just using his mirrors. And then in other grades, like second grade, third grade, fourth grade, I rode the bus. That was, well, I have good memories and some not so good memories from doing that. Well, at first, you know, riding the bus, I didn't have many friends, and I was in like the second grade, so I would sit toward the front while the other kids, you know, in the fourth and fifth grade, they would, you know, sit in the back and talk, socialize, but I mostly kept to myself. One thing that was fun that the older kids would do that I got to be a part of was we would sing songs. So when the fourth and fifth graders, you know, decided, hey, they wanna sing maybe songs like they would sing 100 or not 100. They would sing 99 bottles of beer, and they would get the whole bus singing it. That was fun. You know, around Christmas time, they would start singing Christmas carols. Rudolph, Frosty, Jingle Bells. All of them. And they would get the whole bus singing. That was fun. I bet the bus driver was annoyed, but hey, you know, it's part of the job. Yeah. You know, another rough part about the bus was in those years I lived in a kind of a rural part of the village, so my bus ride was actually very long. I don't know how long. Sometimes, boy, I forget when the bus would have to pick me up, but I was one of the first ones on one of the first houses in the morning, so I had to get up early, and then the bus ride would be like 25 minutes. Yeah. But in the afternoon, I was one of the first ones off, so I got to have a short bus ride in the afternoon, and then run indoors and watch cartoons. So then that's the bus ride. And then at school, well, school was school. Not much changes. Well, that's not true. A lot changes from back when I went to school compared to your school right now. They were very different times. In a lot of ways, your school is, well, has things that are amazing. Thinking about it, the things that you could do at your school compared to when I went to my school. It was just an ordinary school. A gym, a library, classrooms, cafeteria, stage, and a playground. You know, want to hear a nice story about the first friend I made at school? And the way I made this friend was, well, it was a way that I couldn't really picture making a friend, but it was in the second grade. And at the beginning of the school year, the weather was, very nice. And normally we eat indoors in the cafeteria. And our teacher made a suggestion because our teacher, she knew that the weather was going to be very pleasant on Friday at the end of the week, and she suggested, hey, let's all eat our lunch outdoors in the sort of in the kind of common area in the middle of the school, in the middle of the elementary school, where there was a sort of an open spot. It wasn't really used for teaching or for gathering or lessons or anything. It was just kind of an open area. But it was outdoors. So the teacher said, hey, this Friday, let's all eat lunch outdoors. And she asked the class, anyone who wants to eat outdoors, raise your hand. And everyone raised their hand, except for me. I didn't want to eat outdoors. I don't know, something about it. So, I guess, I was the only one that was gonna eat indoors and everyone else was gonna eat lunch outdoors. But one person said, I want to eat indoors too. And the teacher said, okay, well, that makes two. Anybody else? And nobody else raised their hand. So it was just me and this other person. That Friday, we all go to the cafeteria to get our lunch. And everyone, who is buying lunch, I bought lunches. Everyone who went outdoors lined up with the teacher and went outdoors to eat lunch outside, except for me and this other person. This other guy. His name was Matt. And there we were, just me and Matt eating by ourselves in the cafeteria. There were other classes and other grades, eating at their assigned tables, but we were the only two eating at our assigned table. It was a big long table for our grade. And that was it. And I asked him, like, hey, how come you didn't want to eat lunch outdoors with everyone else? I can't remember exactly what or why he said, but he just said, oh, I just wanted to, hang out with you and eat lunch with you. I said, whoa. Really? And before that, we weren't friends. I didn't. I was new to the school, so I was brand new. I didn't have any friends or anyone who I knew. But here's someone who said, hey, new guy wants to eat by himself, but I'm not gonna let him eat by himself. I'm gonna go with him. And he became my friend. Actually, my first friend at that school. Yeah, so we became good friends. A funny story about he and I. When later that year, when we got to know each other better, we we got talking about the girls that we liked in our class, and I asked him, hey, who do you like? And he said, oh, I like her. And he asked me, well, who do you like? And I said, oh, I like her. So at the end of the school year, like on the last week of our classes before the summer, we we were trying to come up with an idea or like something to give as a gift to these girls that we liked, because we liked them, so we wanted to get them something. So Matt got a bracelet that he was gonna give to the girl that he liked, and you want to know what I got? Those red little vending machines next to the grocery stores? They're set up where it has like you can put in a quarter and you can turn the handle, and then a little plastic ball comes out, and inside the ball it could be like stickers or a little figure or like a bouncy ball or something. I wanted to get one of those that had like toy jewelry. There was like a toy ring in one of those, and I said, oh man, I wanna get that ring so I could give it to this girl. So I think I spent like 3 or 4 quarters on it trying to get the ring, but I finally got one, and then I gave it to her. I gave it to her, I think, like, maybe not the last week, but maybe the second to last week. I was actually very nervous doing it, but it's normal to be nervous. And I spent a lot of time trying to think, okay, how am I going to do this? Do I just go up to her? Do I just leave it on her desk with a note and hope that nobody else takes it, and just like sit on the other side of the class, just kind of watching her reaction as she reads it? Do I give it to somebody else and have somebody else give it to her? But no, actually, I was sitting in front of her desk, and somehow like we got talking. I turned around and we just got talking, and something came up, and I think I found just a good time to say, hey, I've got something, do you want it? She was like excited. It's like, oh, something, okay, yeah. And then I gave her the ring from the little vending machine. And the thing is, Matt had not yet given the bracelet that he got to the girl he liked. So when I told Matt, hey, totally gave her the ring. He's like, what? How'd you do that? He was asking me, like, did you just give it to her? Did you leave it on her desk? Did you leave a note? Did you blah, 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 this? And I told him, well, no, I was just, sitting at my desk, and then we got talking, and then she asked me a question, and I said, hey, you want something? And he's like, oh man, that sounds so easy. Like, how am I gonna do it? That was funny. And then, want to know what happened? A couple days after that, she got me a card, and she wrote a note inside it, and it was a thank you note. I still have it. Yeah, that was in elementary school. And then after elementary school, you get to go to middle school, and you get your own locker, and go to different classes. You get a schedule, and you get to do homework. Yeah, you get to have favorite subjects, favorite classes, favorite teachers. And yeah, it can be a fun experience. All right, what's next? I did the cucumber, peppers, I did the lettuce. What's next? Last are the onions. Alright, this is it. Onions. I'm going to cut some of the onion into slices and then use it for sandwiches. Then cut the other onions for a roast. So, first the sandwiches. Yeah. Yeah, that's a bad cut. Let me try again. Yeah, in middle school, that can be a very interesting time because of your age, and you're getting bigger, becoming a young adult. Is that better? That's a little better. You know what my favorite subject was in middle school? It was art. That was my favorite. And looking back on it and thinking back on it, I think I can say that the art teachers that I had growing up in middle school, junior high, high school, something about them that I can now see and recognize as an adult. All of them had favorites. Sometimes people say, a teacher will have like a teacher's pad or, favorite students. Looking back with art students, I think it's very clear they had favorites. And it's... Okay, listen to me. It's not wrong for them to have favorites when it comes to teaching art. And that's because there are two types of students in art class. There are students like me who liked it because we like the topic and we like to go to class to make art. That's one type. And then the second type are the students who go to goof around. Because it's art class. You get a sheet of paper and you get a pencil, or maybe, you get a canvas with acrylic paints or something, and you just scribble on it, whatever. And if you're in art class with your friends, you sit next to your friends and you just, talk and socialize and have fun. Because it's art. You don't have to study topics or learn lessons, do calculations, read history books, or read novels or write essays. You sit down and you doodle. So the students who would go to art class and just talk with their friends, have fun, goof around, cause a disruption. I can see now. Art teachers liked the first kind of student, and they couldn't stand the second kind of student. And I don't blame them. Now that I'm a parent, and now that I can see these things. Because when I was little, art class was just about, learning how to do things. Learning about colors and different mediums and different ways to shade something. Like cross-hatching, stippleism, scribbleism. I always thought that was a funny word. Yeah. Oh, you want to know? Something that I did or used to do that I look back on now, and I thought it was cool, but it definitely wasn't. In high school, I took the shop class, the engineering and mechanical shop class. And in that class, we got to do things like take apart a lawnmower engine, small block, 4-stage little lawnmower. We learned that there are two, Tecumseh, or Briggs and Stratton. And different things like 2-stroke, 4-stroke, what a carburetor is. And in that class, there was a parts wash station, like a station set up to wash and clean the parts of the engine to get the oil and the debris off of it. And some of us, when it came to cleaning the parts, we kind of saw how great it was at cleaning oil off of engine parts, so we were like, hey, we could just clean our hands off in the parts wash station. That was a very bad idea, because that it's really not for cleaning your hands, it's more for cleaning the parts. Because for cleaning your hands, you go to the sink and then you use those green bars of soap that feel like sandpaper, but they work to wash your hands. And what I would sometimes do is, like, if time was running out in class, but we're still maybe putting valves back in and like having to fiddle with the springs and other stuff. If like time was getting short and you're like, oh man, I really don't want to spend a minute or 2 minutes washing my hands, I'll just like quick wash my hands in the parts wash and then dry them off. After the shop class, I had math, and I sat next to a girl in math class, and looking back on it, to go from the shop class to math class after having just washed my hands in the parts wash, my I imagine that my hands and wrists and forearms may have smelled like engine cleaner, or whatever kind of kerosene or whatever is used to wash off the parts. I must have smelled like that throughout the entire math class, and the poor girl who sat next to me must have thought, oh geez, here comes that guy who smells like he just got done pumping gas, and he got the gas all over him. and at the time, at the time I thought, hey, my hands are clean, who cares what I smell like? And then looking back on it, I can say, wow, it wasn't a good idea to just wash my hands in the parts wash. I should have used the soap and water. Not for my sake, for other people's sake. And for my sake. Yeah, shop class was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed, there was a class, a computer class, where we learned the basics of Word, Excel, Access with database, and there was one more. I forgot what it was. 1, 2, 3. Maybe it was like Paint or something. It was like Paint and printing. Maybe it was like photo scanning, but yeah. I remember the first time I learned about spreadsheets and database and word processing was in school. And you want to know what? That ended up being the most useful classes ever. There are so many onions, I'm going to need a bigger spoon. Hey, want to know a class that actually surprised me, that I ended up enjoying a lot more than I had expected? It was a writing class. Much later at school. This was in high school, but there was it was writing and literature. It was the class that we read Macbeth, Shakespeare, many of the classics that we had to read and write papers about, like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, To Kill a Mockingbird, the classics. And at the end of that class, we had to write poetry. We had to make a poetry portfolio. And going from shop class and washing my hands with carb cleaner to writing poetry that afternoon is quite a jump. And in between there was math. But I did the poetry portfolio, and I remember after making it and handing it in, and the teacher graded it and handed everyone their poems and their portfolios back. The teacher wrote in mine that she was surprised that I could write poetry. Yeah. And I still have it too. I might show you someday. And she wrote a very, very kind note on the back of the portfolio and the assignment after I had it graded and handed in. And then afterward, I said, "Oh, hey, great, I got an A. Okay, next." But looking back on it, I can say that I really liked doing it. Writing poetry. I wouldn't consider myself a poet, especially not now. But it was fun to do it. Well, that's everything. Here's the onion. So now it's time to clean up. Love you.